Want to create a header which is common for all the screen using component in PowerApp. How to do that? Let me show you. Now see, in this screen header is common, and in this screen let me just delete the thing and let me add the header by inserting it. And if I add the header and adjust the size, the button and the back button and the home button and the text which is common for all the screen, and the color combination is also common. How you can do that in PowerApp? Hi, this is Kripali from Know How Academy. Now let me tell you what you are going to see in this video. In this video, you are going to learn about what is component in PowerApp, how to create your own component, and how you can add that created component in PowerApp. So let me tell you first why there is a need of component in PowerApp, and what if the component is not there. Now let's say I want to design a screen which contains the same header and same style. So what I need to do if I do not use component? So for that, first I need to insert a label, or you can say insert a rectangle, whatever. Let's say let me first insert a rectangle. Okay, then I need to set the height and width of the rectangle. Then I need to change the color of rectangle. Let's say here I'm changing the color of rectangle. Then on the rectangle I need to add the text label, and then I need to add home button, and I need to also add the back button. And see, on screen and each and every label I need to set the font size. If I add the new screen, let's say, so again I need to add the rectangle. So it is not impossible, but it's a tedious process if we want to do this thing repeatedly. So to solve this problem, there is a solution in PowerApp. That solution is called PowerApp component. Now you understand why there is a need of component in PowerApp. How to add components in PowerApp? So here you need to go to the tree view, and here after the screen there is one menu is there, or there is one thing which is written, that is a component. So you need to click on that component. Now here component screen is the same as a screen when you are adding it into PowerApp, where component screen look and feel is the same like a screen, but the difference is that only some options. Now let's see how you can add the component. So you need to click on add component. Once you add the component, here this will be the default size of component. Here this is a screen like PowerApp screen, or this is the screen like Canvas app screen. Here you need to add the control in the screen. So let me go to insert. Now here I want to design a component which can be like that. A big rectangle will be there, on that label is there, and then here these two buttons are there. So how I can do that? So for that I need to first set the height and width of the component. So let's say the general height I want to put it at, let's say, 200. Okay, so and width, let's say I want to keep it as a 900. Okay, so I think this screen width and this screen width is same, but we will change it later on if it is required. And here I want to fill it with the color, let's say this, okay, parrot green color. So my background of the header is ready. Or what you can do, you can add rectangle and set the color also, but I am setting the background color of that component screen. Then on component screen I need to add the label, and let me adjust the size of the label. Then I need to add the home button. So I am adding the home icon here. Then I need to add the back arrow. So let me go select that back arrow. Here you can also set that, and let me just select, there is one another kind of back arrow. This is back arrow. This look more good other than this. So this is thing. Okay, now this thing is done. Now let me change the company name text here. So I want to actually ultimately so I want to display here the company name. So in text property I am setting the company name, let's say know how. Okay, and let me just adjust the font also, big font, then bold, and let me just adjust the orientation and let me align it into the center, and let me save it. And here when you add a component, here you need to change the name of a component. By default the name of a component will be component 1, and here whatever component you will add, you can see that. Okay, so let me click that and rename the component to header, company name header. Okay, and my component is ready. Now what I can do, I need to go to the screen. I have already added one component, but don't worry, I will show you how you can add the component. So you need to add the blank screen. Now before the component was not there. When you click on insert, this menu will not there. But once the component is added in your screen, and when you go to the screen and when you click on the insert, one option you can see, this is a custom. So custom indicate that what type of other controls you created using a component. So here it will show under the custom. You need to expand. Since I have already created one component before, so you can see that component, and just now I have added one component, that is company name header. So you need to add that component. Now see, the component width is not appropriate to the screen. So what I can do, let me increase the width of the screen. Let's say instead of 900, let me keep it 1000. Okay, and let me go back to the screen. Again I need to change the width. Let me add to 1500. Okay, and according to that I need to adjust the button, and here let me align it center, save it, let me check it. Okay, now it's more than this, so let me decrease the size little bit. Okay, other than 1500, 1200. Okay, again I need to change the okay, but here let me first keep this little bit inside and then change the 1200, and here 800. Okay, or what you can do, you can just increase the size little bit, so here you will able to see that. Okay, so this way you can add component, but this is not sufficient. Why? Because let's say here in component, when I design, I want to keep this header dynamically set, so user can set it when the component is added. So let's say when I add the component in the screen, this text is fixed. How can I change the text inside the component? So for that, let me go to the component. Now basically component is what? Component is just like a text box, label and everything. So see, when you add the screen and click on the insert, these are the inbuilt component which provided by the PowerApp. But if you want to design your own component, that can be a mixture of some 2 or 3 or more component. So this is called the custom component. So for that, what I need to do, I need to go to the component area, and here when you take any control, there are several properties, you can see that. So same way, when you add a component, you can see that. Let me go to the component and you can see the property of the component. Now this component property you can use here in your screen, and the beauty of the custom component is that you can make your own properties. Now let me tell you what type of different properties are there in component. There are 2 different types of properties, input property and the second property is output property. let me explain you first what is input property and how you can create your own property for the custom component. When you click on the component, here you can see this right hand side one screen is appear, and here it is said that custom properties, and you can add your own custom property. Now what I want to do, I want to add the property using that I can change the title of the company. So how can I do that? So you need to click on add. Once you add, click on new custom property. Here you need to set the display name of the property, what is the name of that property, what is the description of that property, and what is the type. I told you there are two types of property, input property and output property. Now first we will go through what is the meaning of input property. So select the input property and then which type of property you are creating. Text property, for number, boolean, you can select the data type and then you can click on create. Now see here, when we select that label, and in a text property we are giving something or we are writing something, so that is called input property. Okay, so that's why when we add that component, user will add something in that. So that's why we need to add the input property of that. So once again, click on that, click on input property, new custom property, and give the name of the property. Let's say company name. And let's say I'm selecting the type is input, and generally we set the text in a company property, so I'm selecting the data type and click on create. So my custom property is created. Now where you can see that, so you need to again click on the component and go to the property, and here you can see whatever property you have selected, it is set. Now let's say here in company name, by default you want to set the property. Let's say write your company name here. Write your company name here. Okay, so we set the default text. Now here in this label we want to set that input property. Here how you can do that? So you need to click on the label, go to the text property, and here you need to write the name of the component. So my name of the component is company name header. Then if you select the dot, whatever property you have created and its default property, you can see that. So we have just created a property called company name. So select that company name, and whatever you have selected it or whatever you have written in that, you can read that. Okay, now see, okay, so we are setting the dynamic value in the label. Let me save that and see, if you are doing any changes, automatically it will affect in that here. Okay, so let's say here how you can change your company name from here. Okay, so let's say here when you add that, by default they will display write your company name, and how you can change your company name or how you can change the text here. So you need to click on that, go to that property, that is company name, and set your name here. Let's say know-how. So see here, you will able to change the name of the company. Only the things you need to know is that you need to set the input property of that company name and then set the things, and here when you add that, select the property, automatically company name will be changed. So this way you can design your own component. Now in this tutorial I told you the simplest way to design a component, but here if you see the one thing that whenever we are taking a component, we need to determine height and width every time, but it is not good idea. So how we can create a component that will adjust its height and width dynamically according to the size of the screen, what type of screen size I am taking. So how can I do that? So to do this, let me add one new component and making it as a flexible flexible header. Okay, so it will change according to the height and width of the screen. So in that, first of all, I am setting the first height, okay, and width we will keep it as a dynamic, so 200, and inside that I am adding one container. So let's say I'm adding a vertical container inside that. Now the height and width property of the container, I am setting it to the parent. Now what is parent for them? So for the container, parent is that component. Okay, so go to the container height property. So that is equal to parent dot height. And for the container width property, I am setting parent dot width. Now see here, this width is equal to that, but the x and y position is different. So here in a position, I need to set the x position to 0. So now you can see that the container height and width property is same. Now what I need to do here, I'm just changing the color of that thing, okay, to show you the demo. So let me add the color and let me save it. Now see, when we add this component in the screen, let me add the screen, and inside that component I am adding. The height is not, the height is okay, but the width is not there. So we do not need to set width manually. So how can we do that? So we need to go to the width property of that, and here we need to write parent dot width. So automatically the width of the component will be set to the width of the screen. Every time you do not need to go to the component and adjust the width and height. Automatically when you write the code parent dot width, it will adjust according to the width of the screen. Let me show you. Save and run. Now see, if I change the layout to font, it will look like this. When I do this, let's say if I am changing it to tablet, so according to the screen size, it will change. If I do not write like this, let me show you. If I manually set the width property, let's say 300 or let's say 700, or let me just drag it manually and see what happened. Okay, and let's say if I'm keeping like this, okay, and when I run it, it will look like this. Now see, when I run, it will look like this. When I run it in mobile phone, it's look like this, and when I just change the orientation, still it will look like this. So what you need to do, you just need to set the width property to parent dot width. So if your screen size, screen orientation, or any mobile screen or tablet screen, it will adjust according to that. So I hope you got it. Then let me add the component, or let me add the controls inside that. So I'm adding the first home button. Then I need to add the text label, okay, and I'm adding the back arrow. Okay, and here this time inside a container I'm setting like this thing. Okay, so I need to set the orientation like this. Okay, now it is adjust according to that. Go to the text property and align it to center, and let me just increase the width a little bit, let's say 300. Okay, and save it. Now if you observe, when we change the height and width of the property, or we need to adjust manually this control. Let's say here, if I change the width of that container, let's say here 1000 I'm changing, so it will look like this, but it is not the good thing to go. Let's say if I'm keeping it 1000, and see, manually I need to drag that, I can do that. But here if you use the container, automatically it will adjust. Let me show you how. So my header, flexible header design is ready, and see here it will adjust according to that. Okay, now see, if I set the any screen anyway, it will adjust according to that. Now see here, if I use this screen and let me run this, and if I change it to mobile view, now see, and if I change it the orientation, this orientation that it should be extremely left, it should be extremely right, it is not adjusting properly. So this way you can design a flexible component which will adjust according to your screen size. Now here in flexible header also you can add your input property and output property according to your need. So I hope you understand how you can design your own component. Thank you for choosing Know How Academy as your source of IT knowledge. We are always here to help you to navigate to the tech world. If you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out us. It has been a pleasure to share this information with you. Stay curious and keep learning.